So this week's video is going to be a little review. I've recently changed sketchbooks. Previously I had been using the Stillman & Byrne watercolour series, the beta series watercolour mixed media sketchbooks, and previously I had really liked them. So I used this sketchbook when I was doing my trip to Lewis. I also used it when I went to Scilly. When I went to Lewis it was really good. I really found that it was quite consistent, it was a good thickness paper. But then when I took it to Scilly and I did some paintings in the Scilly Isles, the paper was really inconsistent. So some days it would do quite consistent watercolour, handle watercolour consistently, and then other days it would blotch. So it would go all blotchy and like blotting paper. So I decided it might be time to trial a different sketchbook, because they are quite expensive, and while they are good, they're meant for mixed media. They're not specifically a watercolour sketchbook. So I decided I wanted to look for a watercolour sketchbook. So on people's advice I decided to try the Moleskine sketchbook. It's a hardback sketchbook and it is specifically watercolour sketchbook. So it's got 200 GSM watercolour paper inside there, which I have found to be really good, really consistent. The pages are slightly thinner than on the Stillman & Byrne, but I don't find that to be a problem. You don't get any kind of transparency of the paper, so it's not transparent at all. It handles different media quite well as well. Even if you're not just using watercolour, you can handle gouache, inks, and I've done a lot of inks in this actually. I was so impressed with this sketchbook that I decided that I would invest. So for Inktober, which I'm currently on day 3, but by the time you get this it'll be day 5 of Inktober 2018, and I was so impressed with my little with my little Moleskine watercolour book that I got a big one. And this is an A4 size, but they call it a watercolour album, or you might find it under the name Watercolour Folio, and it's just the same, just bigger. A good thing that I like about these is that they're hardback and they've got a tie around them, so it's an elastic binder, and that just stops them coming open in your bag. Also protects the pages much better than a soft book like this one, which I didn't realise was a massive problem until I got this one and found that the pages just stay a lot neater. Also, the hardcover and the binding together, it helps to rectify your wobbly, warped pages, because when you use watercolour or you know, a heavily watered medium, you will get a slight distortion of the page, but because once it's dry you're going to be folding it, shutting it down with the hardback binder, and you're going to be closing it together with the elastic binder, it does go a certain way to rectifying that wobbliness. Another thing that I like about this sketchbook is that you've got a little envelope in the back, so you can keep business cards, or you know, train tickets, or anything that you want to kind of add to your sketchbook, but it's not in so big a place that if you don't use it, it's not a big deal. The big one is just the same, so it's 200 GSM paper, it's just a bigger size. And again, at the back, there is an envelope. So at the moment I'm using the big one for my Inktober. Can I just say actually, another thing that I quite like is a reusable packaging. So this is the packaging that came on the A4 watercolour album, the big one that I'm using for my Inktober drawings. And not only is it the packaging, but when you turn it over you can use it as a compass or as a protractor, and it's also got line weights on there as well. You might not ever use that, but if you ever did decide you wanted to draw a circle like I did when I was drawing baubles the other week, getting ready for Christmas, I decided to use the one that I got off my smaller album to draw a circle, just because it was there. So well done Moleskine, I really like that. It is recyclable as well, that bit. So yeah, the big one is now for my Inktober drawings, and it is handling them really well. So I've done 4 so far, because I've done 3 that I've published so far, and I'm working on tomorrow's now. And they are handling the ink really well. The pages are handling the ink really well.